Hello, my name is Patricia T, and today I'm going to talk about car emission. As an environmental health specialist, I've been asked to talk about car emission to a local community group. So, first of all, what is car emission? Each car relies on gas in order to be able to work. That is, you have to put in uh, diesel or gasoline for a car to run. So when that fuel burns, it emits gases that are toxic not only to the environment but also to the individuals, and also that contributes to pollution. Those gases contribute to pollution. So car emission is one of the major causes of global warming, especially in the US. According to EPA, for 1 gallon of gas burned, a typical gasoline personal car emits about 20 pounds of carbon dioxide, which is about 4.6 metric tons each year. So that's a lot of carbon dioxide released, and that's a lot of pollution. Okay. So, as you can see from this graph, transportation is the biggest source of emissions in the US, and in 2016 it has outpassed electric power in terms of emission. So, what are the gases that are emitted from a typical vehicle? You have carbon dioxide, which is the main gas that is released. You have hydrocarbons such as methane and benzene, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, sulfur dioxide, particulate matter, formaldehyde, and we have some little emission that's coming from your air conditioning. Um, the gases are hydrofluorocarbons and chlorofluorocarbons. So we talk about what each of these gases do to the body in more details in the next slides. This gas shows the US greenhouse gas emissions from the 90s to 2014. And as you can see, carbon dioxide is the main gas that is emitted. And that's about 5,000 million metric tons uh, that was released into the atmosphere during that between that period of time from 1990 to 2014. And as you can see, the hydrofluorocarbons are little since it's just coming from your air conditioning. And well, so what are the consequences of those car emissions? Car emissions can cause a rise in temperatures, and when temperatures uh, rise, it can affect the water, the soil, the air, and all those have an effect, an impact on the human health. First of all, we are going to talk about the consequences on water. So, warmer global temperatures affect sea level. So, when it's warmer, the ice from the North Pole, it melts, and when it melts, it increases sea level, which is not a good thing. The oil and fuel spills from the car soak into the soil, and when those are soaked into the soil, it contaminates the lakes, the rivers, and wetlands. And most humans get drinking water from lakes and river, and if that water is contaminated, it's gonna affect the people who are gonna drink from that water. So we have to be very careful about our cars, and we always have to check for uh, spills if the car is not in good shape or in good condition. We always have to have it checked up um, in order to avoid all this. Um, Secondly, we'll talk about the consequences on the air. Uh, Nitrous oxide contributes to the depletion of the ozone layer, and normally the ozone layer protects the Earth from the sun's harmful ultraviolet radiation. So if that layer is depleted, it means that the radiation is going to pass through, it's going to go through, and it's going to reach uh, the population, and it's going to affect the skin, and this can lead to further complications. Hydrocarbons slow the ozone layer formation at the level of the ground, but at the level of the stratosphere, it has a different impact. It promotes formation of ozone, but at the level of the ground, it's not the same. It slows the ozone layer formation, and this has an effect on the human's respiratory system. Some of the consequences of car emission on the soil is that warmer temperatures affect farming, wildlife, and landscapes. Sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide mix with rainwater and create acid rain, which is not good for the environment. When that rain falls, it damages the aquatic life, crops, forests, and even the buildings. We also have some consequences of car emission on human health. Diesel engines emit high levels of particulate matter, and particulate matter can cause skin and eye irritation as well as allergies. Very fine particles lodge deep in the lungs, like the bronchi or the bronchioles, and cause respiratory problems. And those respiratory problems can lead to cardiovascular diseases. Hydrocarbons react with nitrogen dioxide and sunlight to deplete the ozone layer. This causes lungs inflammation that leads to chest pains, coughing, and making it difficult to breathe. Carbon monoxide is a gas that can reduce the blood's oxygen carrying capacity. Uh, and if the blood's oxygen carrying capacity is reduced, that means there's not enough oxygen that's going to reach the tissues, and this is going to lead to a condition known as hypoxia, and this can lead to heart disease as well. Long-term exposure to nitrogen oxides may affect lungs function, thereby causing respiratory problems. People with prior respiratory problems are more prone to the adverse effects related to particulate matter, like cardiovascular diseases, as I said earlier. So, how can we do to reduce car pollution? So, we need to bring the vehicles for maintenance because poorly maintained vehicles cause a lot of pollution, but electric hybrid cars have a reduced impact. We need to check the fuel economy and environment label before purchasing a new car. High ratings mean low pollution levels. Uh, you can walk or use public transportation when possible. This will reduce the amount of fuel that you burn and thereby reducing the amount of emission you produce. You need to keep your vehicle well maintained with regular maintenance services and tire checks because emissions also is produced when you brake or accelerate, when you brake abruptly or accelerate too much. You can also produce emission, and you can leave your car at home whenever you don't need it. Also, you can buy an electric or a hybrid car instead of old regular diesel models in order to reduce your greenhouse gas emission. As you can see from this graph, the number of electric cars that have been bought is increasing since 2011. People are turning more to electric vehicles because they see that old-fashioned cars are not good, are bad for the environment. So they are turning to electric vehicles, which are more environment friendly, if I can say that. So why should we use electric or hybrid cars? Because they emit less carbon dioxide compared to a regular gasoline car. They reduce emissions that contribute to climate change, smog pollution, and so they also reduce, by doing so, they also reduce the ecological damage, and at the same time, they improve the health of the population. These vehicles can be charged using renewable energy such as solar or wind, which minimizes the emissions and reduces pollution. They are cheaper to run since you don't have to pay for gas. So you are kind of saving money out of these cars. Imagine you have to pay, let's say, $20 for gas each week for your car. That's about $80 per month, which is about around 900 a year or 1,000, something like that. Imagine the amount of money you'll be saving. So I thank you guys for listening, and I hope you learned some stuff from my presentation. These are my references. Okay, thank you. Bye.